for Thursday, June 20th. Please rise as Reverend Roscoe Harrison from 8th Street Baptist Church leads us in the invocation this evening, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Kevin Beavers, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation. Mr. Harrison.
Let us bow. Gracious and merciful Heavenly Father, we come to thank you for your grace and your mercy, and we thank you for another beautiful, even though it's a hot day here in Temple, Texas. And Master, we ask that as this council gathers, that you continue to stir within them a thoughtful sense of commitment. And whatever is said, whatever is done, whatever is decided, be smiled upon by you. We ask it in the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much. Next item is public comments. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so by signing up prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit those comments to 3 minutes, and no discussion or final action will be taken by the council. And Ms. Bobby Thompson has signed up to speak tonight.
Hello. I live at 904 Henderson Street. At this time, I'd like to just say this to the mayor and Judy Morales. Thanks for making our Juneteenth parade and our Juneteenth celebration at the Friendship House. It was good to see y'all there today. That warmed my heart. And 2 times in a row, to me, that'd make a rooster crow. Now, for a sad note, the 5 feet grass on 14th Street, it needs mowing from under Avenue H overpass up to Central. It's an eyesore.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. As usual, you buttered us up before you brought the hammer down. So. Get that taken care of. Next item is the awards and special recognition, and tonight we'll be recognizing the Parks and Recreation Department for July being Parks Month. So, Mr. Beavers, come on down.
If it's okay, Mayor, my staff can join me, please.
Sure, absolutely.
Anybody in the Parks and Recreation, please. You stand over here, one on both sides.
Very good. It's my honor to read you guys this proclamation from the office of the mayor of the city of Temple. The proclamation reads, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Temple. Our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of community and the region. Whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for all those that are mentally or physically disabled, and also improves the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Whereas parks and recreation programs increase communities' economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, and the attraction and retention of business and crime reduction. Whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, and provide vegetative buffers to to development and produce habitat for wildlife. Whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a safe place for children and adults to connect with nature and to recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and the City of Temple recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore I, Timothy A. Davis, Mayor of the City of Temple, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2019 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Temple, Texas, and I encourage all citizens to get out and enjoy our local parks and recreation areas within the City of Temple. In testimony whereof, I witness my hand and the seal of the City of Temple, Texas, this 20th day of June, 2019. Thank you very much, and congratulations. I know. I don't know that I've turned it on. There we go.
Mayor and Council, it's my privilege to be here today to accept this proclamation from you, but also have with me, I can't bring the whole department, it'd be too many, and then have to pick and choose each year, so it's always tough, but, I've always been fortunate to lead, to me, the best group in the whole state. That's my opinion of our department, and we get a lot of recognition, and some of you have heard this, we're going through our master plan process right now, and our consultants have told us, in the past, we would look out toward other cities, how are they doing things? There's a lot of cities now looking at Temple, what is, how are you successful, and just the growth, and especially our Parks and Recreation Department, and it's a testament to all the staff. And so I would like for you, when you leave on the table, there's a little handout that shows all the special activities and promotions that we're doing for the month of July. Take one, get active, get out. If nothing else, if you don't do anything that we have on there, just go enjoy your park system. But I would like to pass the mic around and let staff introduce themselves and kind of what they do for us, and that'll be it. Appreciate it.
Mike Hepker, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation. I've joined the group, and I would echo Kevin's sentiment. This is a great group of folks to work with, and I'm really excited about the leadership and the support of Parks and Recreation across the board for our citizens here in Temple, and just glad to be here and support these guys.
Jeff Ward, Director of Golf.
Joni Lang, Sales and Marketing for the Mayburn Convention Center.
Mike Hicks, Railroad and Heritage Museum Manager.
Lisa Taylor, Salmons Community Center.
Miranda Lugo, Wilson Park Recreation Center.
Daniel Pettis, Parks and Rec Intern.
Donald Putnam, Park Supervisor.
Lee Bullock, Park Superintendent.
Stephanie Young, I'm the athletics crew leader and take care of all the complexes.
And I'm Gary Kosel, Parks Foreman.
Thank you.
All gathered together.
Thank you. Right there, stand. I think they'll get you the picture too.
Oh, you okay?
Thank you.
Y'all. It's always a tradition that the mayor asks the Parks Director a question to stump the chump. And so last year I asked a question, and Kevin hem and hawed, he never knew the answer. So I'm going to ask the same question again this year. See if you know the answer. Surely you do. What is the oldest lake in the city limits of Temple, Texas? What? And where is it located? Congratulations, you did it. All right, very good. Moving on, is item number 4 is the consent agenda. All items listed under this section, the consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the City Council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and it will be considered separately. And it has been requested that we remove items 4A and B tonight from the consent agenda. So, so I will entertain a motion on items 4C through Q.
Make a motion of approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Now, I'll also receive a motion and a second to table items 4A and B.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Moving on now to item 5, which is the regular agenda. Item 5 reads, to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit with a site plan to allow a restaurant where less than 50% of the gross revenue will be from the sales of all alcoholic beverages on-premise consumption on Lot 1, Block 1, Los Tres, I don't know how to say this, Miqueles subdivision, located at 2801 South General Bruce Drive within the I-35 Corridor Overlay Retail Subdistrict. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Again, this is a conditional use permit for on-premise sale and consumption of all alcoholic beverages. In this category, it's less than 50% of the establishment's total revenue for such alcohol sales. And again, the conditional use permit is required in the commercial-based zoning. This is for Los Tres Maguey's restaurant, which is approximately a 6,600 square foot footprint. It's currently under construction, and it's also in compliance with the I-35 overlay standards in the retail subdistrict. And a building permit was issued on March 20th of this year for the construction. So just to familiarize you where the property is located, shown here with the cross-hatching, it's bordered by South General Bruce Drive, West Avenue L, and South 55th Street. The image on the left is the site plan that's being proposed, and the star is basically indicating the approximate viewpoint that you would have looking toward the front of the building, and this is the front elevation. This elevation is most prominent from what you would see from I-35, and again, that is currently under construction. So with the conditional use permit, it's subject to two primary criteria. One is Chapter 4, which Code of Ordinances related to alcoholic beverages, and it provides for municipal licensing, permits and fees under the Alcoholic Beverage Code, which is state law. It also covers hours of operation for business sales and provides for a 300-foot minimum distance from sensitive uses, such as places of worship, a public school, or a public hospital. The closest such use is the Faith Baptist Church, which is approximately 850 feet away, so that criteria is in compliance. The other provision is UDC Section 5.3.15 and reiterates Chapter 4. It establishes standards for alcoholic beverage sales with on-premise consumption, such as the TABC licensing that is required within 6 months of the issuance of the CUP. It also provides that the permittee must demonstrate that the CUP is not detrimental to the public welfare, the CUP runs with the land and does not affect change of ownership, and that all CUPs may be canceled, suspended, or revoked by the City Council. So in terms of the zoning, again, the base zoning is commercial, and a business with on-premise consumption and sales from all alcoholic beverage sales is compatible with uses allowed and or allowed with a conditional use permit within the C district. It's also compatible with the I-35 overlay retail subdistrict. So just some photographs of the site and the surrounding area. The main photograph in the main center of the slide here is the current state of the construction for the restaurant, and the image on the lower left is kind of the before image that was the site within about the last year and a half. The other photographs are the surrounding businesses, all of which are commercial or retail in nature. So 12 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet as required for a conditional use permit process. 4 notices were returned in agreement. And so in terms of the 3 criteria that the staff uses for compliance, both UDC Section 5.315, Chapter 4, and the consistency with zoning and the compatibility with existing and adjacent uses are all in compliance. So staff recommends approval of the request for a conditional use permit to allow on-premise sale and consumption of all alcoholic beverages, subject to one condition: substantial compliance with the site plan, which will be attached as Exhibit A to the zoning ordinance. At its May 20th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 with 1 abstention to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit per staff's recommendation. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments on this item? This item is subject to a public hearing. At this time, I'll open that public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. There being no one, then I will close the public hearing on this item and entertain a motion in a second.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. Moving on to item 6 is to hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a conditional use permit with the site plan to allow for a child care facility on Moore's Night Edition, Block 10, Lot 7 and 8, Part 6, addressed as 109 South General Bruce Drive, and located within the I-35 Corridor Overlay District. Mr. Deckman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As stated, this is a conditional use permit for a child care facility. It is located in the I-35 Overlay District. So let me start with orient you to my map. It's located just west of I-35, south of the Adams and Central Corridor, and about a block west of South 31st Street. I'd want to draw your attention to this being South General Bruce Drive, adjacent to the frontage road of I-35. So some background. This use requires a conditional use permit in the I-35 Corridor Overlay Retail Subdistrict. Previously, that use was not allowed, but code amendments in 2017 did allow it with the review for the CUP. The property is currently undergoing renovation. The site plan shows that there will be proposed parking layout and outdoor playground in the rear area of the building. So I wanted to address that access from South General Bruce Drive. When the case came in, there was some concern that there would be high-speed traffic coming off of the frontage road of the interstate, and we'd have parents bringing their children to and from the facility. But in this location, South General Bruce Drive is not connected to the interstate or the frontage road at all. It effectively becomes a local road, and it alleviated staff's concerns over the safety of the children. So conditional use permit as stated within the I-35 Corridor Retail Subdistrict is shown in UDC Section 6.7.11, and then it refers limitations in Chapter 5.3.10. When staff conducted their review, we really keyed in on 2 of the criteria that were listed in 5.3.10. These are highlighted in orange. The play area must be separated in fence from the driveway parking area, and that the fence must conform with the state standards. So we've got standards, the state has standards. They're not the same standards, but we work closely with the applicant to reach a solution. So the applicant is proposing a metal fence to meet both city and state requirements. The applicant has provided us a copy of the state license to operate a daycare center. UDC 3.5.4 applies to all conditional use permits and requires us to consider drainage, lighting, noise, emissions, traffic, and landscaping to ensure that approval will not be detrimental to the surrounding properties. And general development standards outside of the retail CUP does require that parking areas and driveways must be paved with asphalt or concrete. So this is the site plan and the building footprint that the applicant has provided. We show you the building plan not to show you the layout of the room or the footprint, but to indicate the square footage of the building. That square footage is driving the discussion of the parking ratio required in UDC 7.5.5.c, which is one paved spot per 400 square feet of gross floor area. Staff has done the math. That's 12 spaces. That's what's shown on the applicant's plan over here. And you can see they've highlighted in yellow, that's where the playground is going to be located once it's constructed. So now we'll move on and show you the zoning map. So you can see the green hatched area, that's the I-35 retail sub-district that drives this whole case coming before you. The zoning, the base zoning is commercial and general retail, and this is compatible with anticipated retail and service uses in the overlay, so it is compliant. So here's some photos showing the front of the building looking south along General Bruce Drive, and you see this grassy median strip here, and grassy might be an allowance for weeds if there's any TxDOT folks in the room. We've had a lot of rain. So this shows that South General Bruce Drive is separated from the frontage road of this location. There is a yard in the front of the building, and you can see by the spire here, the steeple, that currently the building is being used as a church. That use will go away once the use permit for the child care facility is approved. So turning around from that same spot, looking north on General Bruce, you see the continuation of that grassy median, that it's a two-lane local road that this child care facility is going to be located on. So the next photo is walking into the subject property. This is the leveled area behind the building where the outdoor play area will be located. And this is looking from South 33rd Street into the subject property. You see the unpaved area here, that will be paved. That's where the driveway and the parking area will be. You'll notice the tall pole sign for the billboard. That's a remnant of this building's previous incarnation. Before it was a church, it belonged to an advertising company. They maintain ownership of the pole sign and the billboard, but the applicant will own the building. So this does require public notice. 17 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. One notice was returned in agreement from the property on the southeastern corner, and the newspaper printed notice of the public hearing on May 9th, 2019, in accordance with state law and local ordinance. So the compliance summary, we looked at the table in UDC section 3.5.4, the review criteria, that it is compatible with the base zoning and it is compatible with the anticipated retail and service uses in the overlay. So staff determines this request is compliant. The conditions of the approval is that it remains in substantial compliance with the site plan attached as Exhibit A when the property is developed. So staff recommends approval of the request for a child care facility at 109 South General Bruce Drive, subject to the stated condition. At its May 20th, 2019 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to the condition as presented by staff. I'll note that the applicant is in the audience tonight, and I stand by if you have any questions or discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Dickman. This item is also subject to a public hearing, so at this time, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Council, do you have any questions or discussions on this item? Okay, so now I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Very good. There being none, I will close this public hearing and entertain a motion on item 6.
I move for adoption of the conditional use permit as outlined.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Moving on to item 7 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing approval of the Enclave at Lake Belton preliminary plat, an 88.625 plus or minus acre, 34 lot residential subdivision with a developer requested exception to the UDC Section 8.3 related to park fees located in Bell County, Texas, south of State Highway 36, approximately 1,000 feet west of Lake Belton Bridge in Temple's northwest extraterritorial jurisdiction. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council. Okay, again, as you had mentioned in the description, this is an 88-acre tract, approximately being proposed for 34-lot, one block residential subdivision. It's being proposed in 2 phases, and will have a lot range of about 3/4 of an acre, with the largest being about 18 acres. Again, this is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ, and so there's no zoning attached to this property. The Development Review Committee reviewed this on July 26th of last year, and it was deemed complete on May 30th of this year. And the reason for the delay was as a result of securing and preparing several easements that were necessary for the development of the property. Water will be provided by the Grove Water Supply Corporation, and wastewater will be provided by on-site septic system, and it does meet the half-acre minimum requirement for septic that's required by Bell County. And the property will be within the Belton Independent School District. So just a street-level view of the property seen from the main or only entry point, the proposed Blanco Springs Road from Highway 36. In terms of the exception, this is a requested exception from UDC Section 8.2, which is the payment of park fees and required at the rate of $225 per residential lot. The preliminary plat does not qualify for the administrative waiver in the ETJ since there are more than 9 lots, and that's one of the criteria. Staff is supportive of the requested exception to waive park fees. Number one, primarily to the proximity to the city limits, being in the far distance area of the ETJ. 2, there's no foreseen annexation in the city. And 3, the developer is proposing to provide some open space and trails, primarily located within the drainage and flowage easement areas of the property. Developers are also exploring the possibility of some trail easements and providing connectivity to the Army Corps engineering land in the surrounding subdivision. City Council is the plat authority since an exception is being requested for this. So the preliminary plat is providing 4 new private local streets. Blanco Springs Road, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the main access into the property and will connect to Highway 36. Private entry gates are also being proposed, and those are indicated by the arrows, and are shown there'll be 2 of those. TxDOT will allow Blanco Springs Road as the primary access, but no additional access will be permitted to the property. So in terms of the utility, again, the map shows a hydrant location as well as the proposed water main locations, and again, water will be provided through the Grove Water Supply Corporation. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat for the enclave at Lake Belton and the requested exception regarding the payment of park fees. And at its June 3rd meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 8-0 to recommend approval of the plat and the requested exception per staff's recommendation. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available should you have any questions, and the engineer is also available in the audience if you have questions.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Council, any comments or questions on this item?
I do have a question. Mark, is there, you said it's being built in 2 phases?
Yes, that's correct.
Is the one entrance for both phases or just this one phase?
It's my understanding, and perhaps the applicant can, if I'm incorrect on this, it's my understanding that the first phase will include the access, and then the remainder of the lots will be developed with the access in place.
With that same one entrance?
Correct.
And so with in 2 phases, that's still going to be enough access in and out?
That's my understanding, but I would defer to the engineer.
Okay. Well, must be or it wouldn't be here, but you're comfortable with that, obviously?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And TxDOT's reviewed it also.
Okay, fine. I think you said that, Mark, earlier.
Good evening, Council. Brian Chandler, Planning Director. I just wanted to reiterate that this is all, the 34 lots
Right.
is well under the 75 lot maximum per fire code, which allows for a single entrance point.
But the 34 is just phase one.
That's both.
That's both.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my confusion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chandler. Thank you, Ms. Long. Council, any other questions? There being none, then I'll entertain a motion on item number 7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Aye. Mayor Davis.
Aye. Next item is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing a developer participation agreement with 3 Next Gen Development LLC to construct public water and sewer line improvements in the County View subdivision. Ms. Myers and Ms. Landeros.
Thank you. Mayor, Burke, you might have to help me. Okay, so a little bit of background on this request. The 3 Next Gen Development Company is the developer of a new subdivision called County View Subdivision, which is located in Northeast Temple, or planned to be located in Northeast Temple. They have submitted a request for the city to enter into a developer participation agreement in consideration of some funding for the construction of public water and sewer line improvements to serve that subdivision as well as the surrounding area. The subdivision is planned to be 207 residential lots as well as 8 commercial lots. The subdivision will have public streets, water lines, and sewer lines. The total estimated cost for the public improvements to the subdivision is just under $4 million. The developer has requested that the city participate in the cost of constructing the water and sewer line improvements. So this is just a quick map of the site to orient you. It's just to the west of north of the Loop 363, north of Temple. So the City of Temple, the City Council has a cost sharing for water and wastewater extension policy that was adopted as part of Ordinance 2004-3935. So this policy is designed to provide the mechanism for the council to consider providing cost share or entering into cost share agreements with developers for the extension of water and wastewater mains. The policy establishes a formula for cost sharing where the first 2,500 linear feet of the extension is paid at 100% by the city, the next 2,500 linear feet 50% by the city and 50% by the developer, and then beyond that, the developer would pay 100% of the cost. Next slide, please. The policy is based on the authority provided to the city in Chapter 212 of the Local Government Code. Chapter 212 does limit the city's share to 30% of the total contract price or the total public improvements planned for the subdivision. Your policy also has a density provision that requires that at least for that the ratio of new hookups per 100 feet of the extension is at least 1 to 1. And then the policy also prohibits prohibits the city from participating in extensions that merely serve to extend a water or wastewater line across an existing public property or right-of-way. Next slide, please. So based on the council-adopted formula for cost sharing, the developer has requested that the city participate in the cost of the water and sewer lines in the amount of $680,768.42 to be exact. This represents approximately 17% of the total estimated public improvements in the subdivision, and staff recommends approval of the request. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Council? There being no questions from council, then I will entertain a motion on item number 8.
I move we adopt it.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Moving on to item 9 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of property located at 1701 North General Bruce Drive, as well as declare an official intent to reimburse the expenditures with the issuance of a 2019 combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation bonds. Ms. Myers and Landeros.
Taking this one.
Her turn.
Tag teaming.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight on the agenda is to ask you to consider authorizing the purchase of property at 1701 North General Bruce Drive. Oh, I got the clicker. We're tag teaming too. So this is the former MW Builders site where they had several offices. They have recently, in the last few months, consolidated their operations in Pflugerville. So placed the property up for sale, I believe, in the December-January timeframe. The property is right over 9 acres, so a good size. That main office building is 14,520 square feet, but there are also 3 other buildings on the property totaling almost 12,000 additional square feet that could be used for storage. One of the buildings had operated as an auto shop. So other opportunities for the city to use those facilities as well. This is an aerial of the site that outlines generally the boundaries. So as you can see, most of the structures are located at the front of the property, and there's open space in the back. The property is located between I-35 and the railroad tracks. And so this picture is to orient you better to the location off of I-35 north of Nugent Avenue. So the property is being sold with the furniture included, so I wanted to include some of these photos. The building, again, has several offices. I think when we toured, all of them, or 95% of them, were furnished with very nice desks and chairs and built-in shelving that the city can continue to use. So the sales price for the property is $1.95, and so the city has entered into a contract to purchase the property at that sales price, obviously contingent on council's approval. As I stated, it does include furniture at no additional cost. The city did obtain its own appraisal of the property that came back at $2.1 million, so we were comfortable with the asking price. We have made one escrow payment in the amount of $20,000. We, in the last few days, have asked the seller to consider extending the closing date, and so they have requested an additional $15,000 in escrow payments, so that would be a total of $35,000. So on the agenda item, you'll see we're asking for authorization to purchase the building at $1.95, but also an additional $50,000 to cover that escrow payment, any other closing costs, and then changes that we need to do to signage, security, and other related move-in items. So staff is proposing to use the building to house several Parks and Recreation Department employees. It should be a good location for them to consolidate several employees into a central location. And with the accessory buildings, it provides the opportunity, and the open land provides the opportunity for them to have storage and a lot of their operations in one place. So if you all approve, the proposed closing date would be September 13th. That would allow council or the Finance Department to bring forward to council a request to authorize the issuance of certificates of obligation to cover the purchase. That request will come forward in August. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Brent and Tracy may want to add additional information as well.
Happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? It's a good opportunity. It's a pretty unique property. You know, one that fits what the city's needs well. So it's a good opportunity, especially with the appraisal coming in higher than the asking.
It's nice that we're going to move parks there, being as it's Parks Month.
That's right.
Good to be able to consolidate all the different offices. They're all over the place, and with the growth that we're having, we really need this. Yes.
Very good. Anything else? All right, there being no further comments, I'll entertain a motion on item number 9.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second, Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. That wraps up tonight's agenda. Thank you all for attending.